Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the Riptide. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think, Jamil and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
I'm Travis Campbell.
I'm Mike Forsyne. That was Jamil Zanishev. And this is Brew Strong with special guest Neil Spake.
At least somebody's paying attention.
That's why I paused. I was waiting for you to say your name.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's been a while since I've done one of these shows.
It's rusty.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, I've only been doing this 16 years. How could I be expected to get this right?
And it's changed a couple times, It
has. Once or twice. I've been doing this show 16 years. Been doing Brewing Network stuff for 18.
And you brought
the Jamil show. The Jamil show. Yeah.
The book is sorry.
And then
Can You Brew It?
Well, and then came Brew Strong. And then came Can You Brew It? And then came Brewing Style.
Yeah.
And here we are today. Brew Strong. You know who else who gets it right all the time? Come on, one of you guys gets it right all the time.
Your buddy John?
Your good buddy over there?
My good John Blickman. John Blickman. That's right. That guy's a genius. Literally a genius. He's one smart dude. Creates, amazing stuff. Whether you be a home brewer of, more, conservative means. He's got the Anvil line, and he's got his, top tier equipment. Then he even does commercial grade stuff and, stuff for those of you who want to move into brewing as a job. He sells that stuff too. Small brewery equipment. If you want to check that out, go to blickmanengineering.com. Great guy, John Blickman. He has paid for the show for all 16 years. And I think the least you could do is send him an email at feedback at blickmanengineering.com and tell him thank you for sponsoring the show. He pays for it, so you don't have to. So I think that's really cool. And thank you, Neil, for joining us. Our special guest, Neil Spake. He is author, podcaster, traveler, musician, computer hardware genius guy, and a good buddy of mine. He's gone, just like Travis has, he's gone on trips with me to England several times. And we've got a trip planned to Germany next. We're gonna and the Czech Republic. We're gonna hit Prague. We're gonna hit Bamberg. We're gonna hit Frankfurt. All coming up this year. And the reason I asked Neil to be with us today was because we want to talk about beer travel. While we were traveling, we're thinking, a lot of the things that we've figured out, a lot of the tips and tricks, a lot of people would like to hear those.
I would.
Yes.
Hi guys. I've never traveled for beer, but I'd like to learn.
It's okay if you guys speak,
No, yeah. I have not been on a beercation yet. I guess I would count South Carolina. I did a lot of breweries when I was down there.
There you go.
Yeah. Got to check out New Realm.
That's a place I have
nice.
Yeah.
Have some of Mitch's beers over there?
Oh, yeah. Beer scene's great. Charleston is awesome. They have some really cool breweries. They got the one guy, he opened Charlestown Fermentory, and he's from Trillium, I guess, and his hazies were outstanding. And then I got to go to New Realm and check out like all of Mitch Steele's stuff going on down there. They just opened a really cool venue with a lot of like live music, like stages and stuff. Sweet down there.
Yeah, they got like 3 places now.
Yeah.
3 breweries and a distillery. I was talking to Mitch. I'm like,
Mitch started that, right?
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
In Atlanta, along with 2 other people, were kind of the funding and the restaurant side of things, and Mitch is the brewery side of things.
They've grown it pretty fast. I mean, he's got the Virginia is their production brewery location, I think, or something like that.
They bought the Green Flash brewery. The Green Flash had built a new brewery, and that was took them down. Spending too much money. Always the death of a brewery.
Yeah. So New Realm said, "Hey, if they can do it, we can do it.
Anything you can do, I can do better."
I think they got it. They got it more on the cheap compared to however much, 75 million they put into it or whatever crazy amount. Well, and Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I love traveling with you. I'm glad that you're doing this show because I have learned so much from you. Your little tidbits, just things that seem so obvious, but until you experience them or you explain them, you don't think of it.
Right.
And I just remember being I think we were Ubering from Birmingham over to the West Midlands, and you were saying, I wish more people would visit England and check out these breweries. We got to keep cask conditioned ale and the British brew heritage alive. And and I said, yeah, I totally agree. And I think one of the things that keeps people from other countries, particularly the U.S., from going is fear. They think it's just too daunting and
too complex.
When I travel with you, it's like seamless. So
yeah, it's pretty easy. And I think, a lot of that just has to do with, preparation.
Yeah.
You're better than that, though, Jamil. Why don't you talk about why you were in an Uber?
Why was I in an Uber?
I mean, you were there during the strikes on the railroad and stuff.
Oh yeah, that messed us up on one thing.
Yeah.
That was a really long Uber ride.
That was a very costly.
But what he's talking about, we were going to the West Midlands to there's an amazing selection of milds and bitters in the West Midlands, and some historic breweries, and that the trains kind of run out there, but there's not much in the way of transport out there. So we just did Uber rides, and they were $8-10 between places, and so with 3 of us in the car, it really was probably no more expensive than if we could have taken trains out there. Right. And we just went door to door. We didn't do hardly any walking. And we had a great time of it. So sometimes Uber's cheaper for you. Sometimes the trains are better. It depends, how far you're going.
But you didn't let the train issue stop your trip.
Absolutely not.
The old world, newfangled technology, it all kind of melded together and you made it happen.
There's always a way around it. You just have to, Neil and I like to get to the station early. We don't want to leave it to the last moment. We get there, 15 minutes early, and we just stand around and chat. And it just gives us time to be comfortable, look at the board, see which platform we're boarding on. Google usually knows which platform you're going to be boarding on. And it'll tell you, this train number, this platform at this time. And, it's right. But what can happen sometimes is maybe a train gets canceled or something. Like when they had these strikes, they started limiting some of the trains, and we got there to the York Station, and we were heading out to go to Timothy Taylor's, and looked up at the board. I'm like, our train's been canceled. But then it's like, well, here's another train going to our same destination. We jumped on that. We were fine. No big deal. Worked out just fine. Let's talk about just how you get over there in the first place. Planes, right? You take a flight. There are lots of direct flights to Heathrow. There's lots of easy non-stops, generally, pretty reasonably priced. Depends on where you're flying from. Fly from San Francisco to Heathrow, round trip, $700. You fly from Atlanta to Heathrow, round trip, $1,800. I was looking at flights for Mitch, and I was just shocked at how expensive they were. But, you fly from Atlanta to, Boston and then over, and, the price drops in half. It's crazy. So you got to look around. Google Flights is real handy in just looking at flights and try different days, try different airports, and it'll give you some suggestions sometimes. Say, hey, fly from here and it's cheaper. And you don't have to book it through there, but it'll give you an idea of what you can expect to pay for a flight. Interestingly enough, you don't have to go into Heathrow. You don't have to go into the main airport of England. If you, one of the creative ways I get around is I can get a nonstop between here and Amsterdam, fly out to Amsterdam, and then KLM from Amsterdam, from the Schiphol airport, flies direct to pretty much every single airport in England. It's amazing.
That's cool.
Even it's a massive airport, and they fly everywhere.
So, and KLM has got all these little commuter jets for that. Neil, I was looking at how would I have gotten to Theakston's for Old Peculiar, right?
Right.
There's an airport not too far away called the Durham Airport.
Oh, in Durham.
In Durham. It's called Teesside. And KLM flies direct to there.
Wow.
It's a tiny little airport.
That's amazing.
Right. They fly into Leeds, they fly into Manchester, they fly in pretty much everywhere. And so, if you can catch a flight to Amsterdam, for maybe a lot less, it's better timing. You could even spend a few days in Amsterdam, which is a lovely city to tour. And then you can just jump on a plane, go to any little airport anywhere in England, right from there. So, and then you can fly open jaw. You go into Amsterdam and out of Heathrow back home. You don't have to fly. A lot of the airports or the airlines, they don't charge you extra for doing what they call an open jaw like that. You can just book your ticket from San Francisco to Amsterdam and then back from Heathrow to San Francisco. As long as it's in the same area, they consider that a contiguous trip. So they don't charge you any extra for it. That's one tip. Be aware that you may lose a day going over there.
Yeah.
On the way back, you pretty much arrive back home at the same time you left. It's a couple hours time difference when you're coming back. So you gain it back on the way back. But just be aware of, when you're setting up hotels and stuff, you lose a day going that way.
Now, do you usually go, I'll call it off season? Everybody wants to go to England in, late May through early August.
Right.
I always avoid that personally.
I do too.
The rates go through the roof, number one, and the place is so packed with tourists that it just can be cost prohibitive. That, and,
it's also hotter.
And it's hotter.
Yeah, the people in England don't want to be in England in the middle of summer.
Yeah, it tends to be so hot. And
AC is not their specialty.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of AC. We'll talk about hotels in a moment, but a lot of them don't have air conditioning. So you always want to check to make sure it's got air conditioning. If you're a little more rotund American like myself, I need some good old AC. Here's one thing: if you do fly into Heathrow, I want to touch on the Heathrow Express.
Absolutely.
A lot of times people, the Heathrow Express can be great if you're staying somewhere where the Heathrow Express ends or somewhere past there. It is very quick. It gets from the airport down to Paddington in 15 minutes nonstop, right? However, it's a 10-minute further walk to get onto the Heathrow Express. If you're not staying somewhere convenient to Heathrow Express, the tube can be much quicker and vastly cheaper for you. There's a tube station 10-minute walk earlier than the Heathrow Express. So just look at both times. Google will show you the time differences between them, but it often does not include the walking time in the airport for that.
Right. Yeah, I was going to add one note on flight tips. I don't know if they all do it, but if you're tracking a price, if you go to United's website and you try to get a flight and you keep trying to get maybe a different arrangement, you'll see that price start to tick up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they published the fact that they set their pricing on demand and you're creating the demand. So yeah, kind of figure out whatever options you can, maybe even a month in advance or something, or try a different date to see what the options look like before you come back to your date, so your flight's not all jacked up in price.
Or turn off cookies.
Does that work?
Don't allow them to track you on the other sites.
I was going to ask, though, because you were talking about off season and when to go. I guess what would be the month to circle for a beer enthusiast?
Oh, see, that's a good question.
That's a great question.
So,
is there some big festivals? Are there really cool events?
Right.
Are there special releases? Like what
so
month are we?
GBBF and the London Beer Fest, which is Craft Beer Fest, which is excellent. Those tend to be kind of beginning of August or so. Still tad warm there, but you put that at the beginning of your trip, and then it's not bad at all. Yeah, there's other festivals. There's a winter GBBF as well. I tend to go around. A lot of mine is based off of other things. So go to Sweden to do this conference. That's in March, and then I'm like, well, I'm already over here. I might as well go to England.
Certainly.
And so I'll end up there in March, and then we're going to Germany, around Labor Day. And, after that, I'm just like, well, I'm already here. I might as well go to England. So I will go on to England, shortly after that. I think shoulder seasons are the best. Although if you like Christmas markets, around Christmas time is great. They have Christmas markets in England and in Europe that are really very nice. It's, the community gets out and strolls around. They got these tiny little huts serving foods and mulled wine. And it's just kind of a magical Christmassy feel. My wife and I, we really love it. So that's another good time to go.
And everybody says Happy Christmas?
Yes, they all say Happy Christmas, which I love. That's why I want to start saying Merry Thanksgiving and Happy Christmas.
There you go.
Yeah, so Great British Beer Fest, that's like all cask, which so if you don't know if you like cask, you can go and you can find out.
Well, and I think they're doing some keg beer now, mainly for the Americans, and a lot of the breweries. So
they had the corner of canned and bottled because your beer was there.
Yes,
the year we went, they had that. So, but I was still back on the cask personally. I mean, no offense, Jamil, but at the time I could get your beer, whatever. I could get their beer. Yes, honestly, Great British Beer Fest. I'd give that a shot.
It is excellent. Yeah.
Is that how we found Harvey's?
They've canceled it this year. What?
They've canceled it this year, right?
Yeah.
Is that how we found Harvey's, or do you already know about Harvey's?
Already knew about Harvey's.
All right.
Yes. A lot of the places they'll be there, and they'll crown the champion beer of Britain and all that, and that'll be all those winners will be on there at the fest. If you've heard of GABF, the American Great American Beer Festival, that was started after Charlie Papazian went to England and got toured around. I forget who showed him around GBBF. But after that, he went home and set up the GABF, which, has become huge. GBBF is much smaller. You pay to enter. You give a deposit for a glass, which you can keep, which each year I keep them, or you can sell it back to them. And then you pay for your beers. And you can get a quarter pint, third pint, half pint, full pint, which is nice. Not like GABF where it's an ounce, which drives me nuts.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll dig more into traveling in England for beer right after this.
Weighing in with soybeans and a baby show straight out of Norburn, Missouri, we have Soybean Festival. From Hayward, Wisconsin, at 73 years young with the world's largest muskie statue, put it together for Muskie Fest. Finally, packing a punch with fire dancing and a pet costume contest, the Roseau, Minnesota Fall Harvest Fest. One of these festivals could win $100,000 in the Cenex Hometown Throwdown. You decide. Cast your vote at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew strong.
All right, we're back here with our special guest, Neil Spake, who's joined us. He's got quite a bit of experience traveling in England. He and I traveled together. He actually lived in Scotland for a while as well, and traveled around in the UK as well for beer. Now, hotels. I'm kind of picky about my hotels. I've stayed in some pubs. I enjoy that. I've stayed in some, smaller things, and I've enjoyed them, but I'm always very careful for a couple of things. One is air conditioning, or I'm there in the winter and I know that the window's open, so I can let some cold air in. Otherwise, I get too hot and sweaty. I can't stand it.
Nobody wants sweaty Jamil.
That's right. I always try and, if you're going to stay in a pub, they can be wonderful, just kind of, quaint old pubs and historic buildings. A lot of people really like that. The issue with it for some people is generally there's no elevator. So you're going to have to haul your luggage up, maybe 3 flights of stairs. There's no air conditioning, and they can be noisy sometimes. Some of the pubs, especially if you're staying there midweek, not a big deal. If you're staying there on the weekends, and it's a busy pub, the crowd could be singing, drinking, and, music could be playing till, 2 a.m. And, it may keep you up. If you need to get up early to go catch a train or something, may drive you up the wall. So just keep that in mind. But pubs can be pretty wonderful. Anywhere you stay, I always try and stay near a train station. Travis and Neil will tell you.
That was my tip, yeah.
Wherever we stay, we're walking from the train station to the hotel. Keeps you from having to pay for a cab, finding a cab. If you're in some of these smaller towns, there are cabs, but they're not in a line waiting to pick you up. You may have to call for one and wait. And I don't know about you, but I want to go drinking, get to the hotel. I don't want to stand for 30 minutes waiting, hoping on a cab. So being able to walk, 5-10 minutes to a hotel, that's why I always try and pick something near the train station. I always look at where's the train station that I'm going to use to get to this town and to leave this town for my next destination. And then I'm like, okay, what hotels are close by this? What pubs, what hotels? And I also like to find places that I always look to see if there's like a Tesco or a Sainsbury's or a Waitrose, little grocery store. They have these Tesco Express, Sainsbury local shops, which have all the foods and drinks and things and other supplies. If you need something, very close, very handy. It's nice to have that nearby within walking distance. And usually there's one. I just make sure I'm not in a desert where there's no restaurants, no grocery stores, no services. Look around on Google, zoom in and hit the restaurants button and see what kind of restaurants are there. Like, hey, yeah, if we're staying there, I'd probably want to go eat here. Oh, what pubs are there? When we get back from touring around, I'm probably going to want to have a pint. And here's a nice place right next to the hotel. So check those things out. Google's your friend on all this.
I've got a 2-for-1 that's you're a specialist at on the hotels, Jamil. Kind of bridges flights and hotels. Pack light, and what goes with packing light, because you're going to be walking with your luggage more than likely a little bit. Pack as light as you can stand it at least, but then find your laundromat.
Yes.
And you're a specialist at that.
Oh, I always look. Yeah. That's a good point. I always look to see where the laundromats are because, well, and usually what I do is I'll bring 10. I'll bring, 10 shirts, 10 underwear, 10 socks, a couple pairs of pants. And it gets me 10 days, plus what I'm wearing. So that'll get me 10 days. So every 10 days, I look to see if I can find, a laundromat near my hotel. And that way, I go for 30 days. I go, for 4 or 5 weeks sometimes. And I do laundry twice on the trip. And actually, I've come to really enjoy it because I'll talk to locals. I'll find a laundromat next to a pub. I'll throw the laundry in. I'll go and have a couple of pints and just relax. And, it's nice. It's not a big deal at all. And then I'm not lugging as much around. And that is much more enjoyable than, having to spend a few hours getting your laundry done. Not a big deal at all.
Also hit on the fact that you probably don't want to make it a weekend trip. And if you leave on Friday and arrive on Saturday and you're coming back on Sunday, you just spent the night in Europe or England or wherever, you haven't done much. Make a trip out of it.
That's why I go and stay, a month because, the travel over is, a little exhausting for me. I am a delicate flower and I become tired. So
then you have to adjust to the local time. It takes a little bit of time also.
It does. Yeah. I've got a quick question too. It's, so when you're planning this month-long trip, are you making your hotel arrangements for the entire trip? Or are you kind of, as you go, you're finding a new spot?
I make them ahead of time. I map the whole thing out, but I make my hotel room reservations cancelable. And so a lot of them, they will either, up to the day of, they'll allow you to change your reservation or cancel your reservation. Some you can get them cheaper if you give a 5 days, cancellation, and almost always, within 5 days. So I usually pick that, but I'll usually do that. But I'll kind of map the whole thing out, but leave myself some flexibility where I can change things if, we decide on something different. There's something else we want to see or do. And, then you can adjust it. You bring your phone with you, you can usually that, or maybe a tablet, you can change your plans on the go.
You don't have to be super rigid, but you don't want to spend your whole trip trying to figure out where you're going to sleep tomorrow night.
Right. And then have to worry. Because then I think you don't really take advantage of some of the optimum things. Another thing about transportation is the trains are great, but they don't go everywhere. And if you want to get somewhere, like, we wanted to get out to Jeremy's farm, Clarkson's farm,
right?
Diddley ass farm.
Yeah.
So, one of the previous trips, we found a cab driver out there in that area, and he was nice. And he said, hey, you need a ride back? And we're like, yeah. He gave us his card. I've held on to that card to this day. And when it came time for us to go out to Clarkson's farm, I called him up. I said, hey, can you pick us up? Can you drop us off? Give us a ride back? He's like, yep, absolutely. So he met us there at the station, picked us up, took us out there. He waited 45 minutes or an hour while we were there, and then took us back. There's lots of little cab services around all of England. And, you can find them on Google for certain districts and certain areas. If you just Google the name of the town you want to taxi in, and taxi town name like Massam, there's a Ripon taxi service, Judy's or something like that. You can book in advance. They will pick you up at your where you need to be picked up. They'll drop you off. They'll take you back, all that stuff. And it's actually pretty reasonably priced. They do not charge a huge amount for their taxi services in England. So that's a good one. But, when you meet somebody and they're a nice cab driver, get their name, get their card, very handy to have.
It can definitely pay off.
Right. And in the end, if you get stuck somewhere, don't freak out. Yeah. You can always get a room almost anywhere, or somebody will help you. Mm-hmm. Individuals will drive you in their car somewhere if you're really desperate. Don't worry about it. You're on vacation. Have a good time.
In England, they almost speak our language.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Wait, what?
All right.
So I don't need an interpreter?
Food. What I know Neil is very, very fond of certain British foods.
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
Full English breakfast. And so is Travis.
There's nothing better than a full English breakfast.
Yeah.
Except maybe a full Scottish or a full Irish, but they're all very similar.
There you go.
Tell us about the differences there. Well, all right. Sorry, we come back maybe.
I'd say one of the things is pub food is generally great. Plus they have beer. But be aware that not all pubs are serving full meals and not round the clock, or when they're open. So just, Google that and then look, and it'll usually tell you. But just be aware that if that place isn't, there's somebody around who is, because a lot of people eat in pubs, eat in, local restaurants. So you will find something. You won't starve to death in England. There's people there who live there and eat. So you will be able to eat too. Just make sure you try some of the local foods. Have fish and chips. You may have had fish and chips at home, but you probably haven't had fish and chips like fish and chips in England.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and try the malt vinegar once and be done with it.
Even some of the worst fish and chips in England tends to be far better than the best fish and chips in a lot of the U.S. So check it out. Other stuff, the sticky toffee pudding, the full English breakfast. Some of there's just a lot of things that.
There's a lot of, especially in England, there's a lot of regional sausages in particular. Uh-huh. So just because it says bangers and mash, trust me, that Cumberland sausages versus Lincolnshire, they're all a little bit different, and it's eye opening to try the regional varieties. And this probably goes without saying for most people that have been there, but like London and Glasgow have some of the best Anglo-Indian food on the planet. Mm-hmm. Some of the best curry restaurants. It's just insane. And we found out in Birmingham, they're known for Balti cooking. It's a specialty region of India. And I didn't know that until this last trip, that they have a big Balti community there, and they're really known for it. So, get out and check it out. Steak and ale pies, chicken and mushroom pie, all that stuff. It's
a great country with a lot of wonderful foods. People have given England,
it gets a bad rap. It does get a bad rap, but it's improved immensely because.
Yeah, it's just not the case. I mean, there's Michelin star restaurants, plenty of England. They make some great food. Give a bunch of things a try. If you don't know what something is on the menu, ask what it is, give it a try. Chances are you're going to like it.
Yeah.
People are eating it for a reason. Not.
What's the pie you had at Yorkshire Terminal?
What?
What's the pie you had at Yorkshire Terminal? Is that like
pork pie? Yeah.
Yeah. Not the hat, but the actual pie. Yeah.
Yes.
Pork pie. Yeah.
Pork pies. Yes.
That was interesting. Yeah.
And that that was the I don't think we had a pint in there, but Travis loved that place, the Yorkshire Tap in the train station. Right. Yeah. And we were there. I think I was starving because I didn't get my pasty. Mm-hmm. And so I had some pies.
There you go.
I think Travis was like, "What is that?"
Oh yeah.
Oh, speaking, just one final thing. This is another thing that gets a bad rap with some friends of mine for, I don't think, warranted reasons. But my
black pudding.
Back in my mind, when I travel in England, if I am not sure where I can get something to eat, I find a Wetherspoon's pub. Their food is reasonable. It's decent. You'll find one or two beers that are at least worth having. A lot of people complain about Wetherspoons, but I've found that to be a safe haven when there was nothing else. Mm-hmm. So
true.
What's their line of beers, Jamil?
Some of them can be pretty good. They just they kind of as we found out, they tell the brewers what they will pay for beer, and then
So they're not always tied to the same brewery. They vary by region.
No, right. No, it varies by what they can get for the best money and what's moving the fastest. But they're really good about guest ales. And
Henry was telling me, or were you there when he was telling us that at his Weatherspoons down in Worthing, they have on Old Peculiar. And so they'll tap one, and then it's just like emptied in a couple hours. They just tell them they put the word out, and then it's gone. And he says he misses it.
8 p.m.
Right.
Be there.
So just depends on the Weatherspoons. Okay, let's take another short break. When we come back, we will dig in more with beer tourism right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. Let's see here. Brewery tours. How do you get a tour at a brewery?
Hang out with a rock star named Jamil Zanishev.
That helps a lot.
Oh, come on. Usually all I do is, sometimes I go like, hey, you know who I am? Hey. No,
is that more when you're getting thrown out though? Don't you know who I am?
That's usually, that's Michael's
That's
right.
how I get us thrown out, not him.
Oh, okay. And then he gets you back. Yeah.
A lot of times, breweries will have tours that they do. You just check out their website. It'll say, hey, you can convert pounds to dollars using Google. You can, usually you can book it online. If it doesn't work online, you can email and say, hey, I'm from California and I can't make it work on your website, but I'm going to be there and I want a tour. Could you please help me? And you tell them what day and what time. And they'll go like, yeah, we'll put you on the list. You can pay when you get here. Don't worry about it. Even if it's a pay in advance thing. Very nice. Sometimes, they don't do tours for the public. But again, if you're nice, if you ask nicely, if you're polite and you say, hey, I understand you don't do tours for the public. I'm coming special from Austin, Texas, and I'd love to, I'm a big fan of your brewery. I love, British Gas Ale. Would it be all right if I, took a quick peek in the brewery and, and looked about a little bit? You'll be surprised if you're polite and not demanding anything from them. Times to be like, yeah, sure, come on down. We'll take care of you. and you'll find yourself there, being shown around the place for an hour or two and being given free beer. And, they love when people appreciate their beer and really are passionate about it. So, not a big deal. A lot of times, some places you can't get into. I have never been able to get into Sam Smith's.
Exactly.
I had a connection of a guy who pretty much lived on the property when he was younger. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll get you in. And they're like, nope, can't come in. I'm like, well, that's probably just me. He probably could have gotten anybody else in, but not me.
It's not true.
And always, if you do a brewery tour, be respectful, before the tour, during the tour, and after the tour. Be kind to people that are opening the brewery to you. It may be Sam Smith doesn't allow people in because people were jerks. I don't know. But I know if people were jerks to me when I let them into my brewery, it really made me question whether I wanted to be doing brewery tours. But, just keep that in mind. Pub tips. Neil, I know you've got a ton of pub tips for people.
Yeah. Well,
what should you do when you get to a pub?
Well, I'm really into historic pubs. I love pubs that are grade 2, grade 1 listed buildings. And there are lots of books and things out there that you can research. Like Camera has all of these lovely heritage, usually by region. And they are awesome. The pictures are cool. They tell you what's historic about that given pub. And that'll give you the architecture side of it. What kind of unique, if you're into that. If you're not, don't worry about it.
You want to tell us what grade 2, grade 1 is?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What does that grade thing mean?
Well, the grading thing in England is, so say it's a Victorian building and pub. It'll be a grade 2 listed building, which is pretty high up, if it maintains like 70% of the originality of when it was built. So if somebody just goes into a historic building and guts it and puts in all brand new stuff, that's not accurate. That's like these faux Irish pubs we have all over in America, where they're beautiful. They build them, they ship them over here, they hook them up, but there's nothing historical about them. If you see a pub in England that has a grade listing on it, most of them are grade 2 or grade 2 star is probably the highest one. They have some sort of historical significance. Could be Victorian, could be Edwardian, different periods of architecture, which also bring, even if you're not into the architecture part of it, the way beer was served over the years changed as well. So some places have a certain type of a hand pull and others have a different type of a hand pull. Things like that. If you find that stuff interesting, and like the one pub
what's that hand pull motion?
See, I didn't do that. I didn't do it,
Or you'll have the resident cat. Like we went into a pub in York and this black cat just, hello, here I am.
Was that the Black Cat pub in York?
It was the Black Swan. I think it was the Black Swan, which was a gorgeous
what was the
pub.
one where that had the thing where they dropped the coffins down through?
Oh, the coffin. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, the dead drop or whatever.
Those are the kind of crazy things you run across.
Yeah.
Can you pay £5 to get dropped down in the coffin?
I don't know.
Is it a ride?
I think if you drink too much,
Is there a ride?
that's how they dispose of you.
Can I take the coffin trip, please?
Yeah, all this stuff. I mean, and you can wander into these places and it's free, to go in and check it out. Get yourself a pint, to support the business. But, you see some pretty cool things that, over in this country, you'd be charging an entrance fee.
Absolutely.
Over there, it's you're just going to these people's business or, really, really very cool.
Yeah.
So grade 1 is the next step up, or?
Grade 1, I think, is the highest level. That's almost unheard of.
Very nice.
one of my favorite pub tips is talk to people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, just strike up a conversation. And you see somebody standing at the bar having a pint, say something, you know, be friendly. And you'd be surprised at how quickly you can make friends. Or, you know, Travis and I, we were in Cardiff, along with my daughter, and we started chatting with a guy there in a pub in Cardiff. And then he started taking us around to all his favorite pubs in Cardiff.
Nice.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful chap. It was a blast. Be patient. You know, if you're getting cast beer, especially if it's on a sparkler, it takes time for it to be poured. You know, wait until they, you know, say you're done. Same thing if there's a queue, if there's a line, respect the line.
Mm-hmm.
People do not like it if you go around their queue.
Yeah.
You know, just stick it. If you see a line to get drinks, get in the line. Don't go around. Even you say, "Oh, I could cheat this thing and get a drink faster." Now, if everybody's lining up along the long bar, like Travis and I were in the Borough Market, and we went into, I think it was Young's Pub.
Was it? Yeah.
And it's just the entire bar had, you know,
Slammed
2-3 deep, and you know, then there's a little space. You just walk up and stand up. But if there's an orderly line, get in the orderly line and just wait your turn. Be patient.
The one way I'll say don't be like the locals. Don't harass them if your pint glass is a quarter of an inch under the lip. You know, they want the foam to die down and all the way to the top, or it's a harassment. Now, don't be like that. Just
if you do see like an inch, you know, inch and a half of foam, expect that they will top it up for you.
Yeah.
They're just waiting for the foam to settle. That's why I'm saying be patient. They're waiting for the foam to settle before they top it up. If they don't, and you're like an inch short of beer, you can just say, "Hey, can I get a top up?" And they'll do it. They won't question. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, you know, some places, you know, they think, American won't care. You know, just you can act like a local and say, "Can I get a top up?" You hear that all the time. Don't be loud in a quiet pub.
Mm-hmm.
I would never.
Some of these pubs are real quiet, and you know, you know, if you start getting all loud, like in the Bluebell in York,
It's more of that same shirt.
you could find yourself tossed out. So just you know, yeah. I forgot I was wearing my Bluebell shirt.
Yeah,
so if you say, "Do you know who I am?" You have to say, "Do you know who I am?"
Sure. Yeah, just you know,
quietly. "Do you know who I am?" Not loudly.
Same thing if you're exiting and you're in a residential. You know, a lot of times there's people that live right around the pub, and if it's late at night, don't be loud and disorderly. A lot of pubs get into trouble because people are loud and disorderly leaving the pub. So don't be part of the problem. And keep in mind that your transit options can shut down. Just because you took the tube out there does not mean that the tube is still running when you leave that pub at, you know, 1 a.m. You may have to catch a bus. You may have to walk for a while until you can find a cab. Just be aware of what your options are if you're going to be away from your hotel and things like that.
Now, is there an actual like legal closing time, or is it kind of like whenever the bar feels like closing, or is it like Nevada where if you want to stay there till the sun comes up, like where I live, some of the places?
Mostly they have a closing time. It depends on, usually it's, especially in England, it's like 10 o'clock through maybe Thursday. And then they'll have what's called a late license for Friday and Saturday. But even late license only means 11 or 12.
Okay.
And then when the pub's shut, everyone goes to the disco. And you can stay up till 4 or 6 in the morning doing that.
So Brent's asking, does England's beer prices also reflect the increased beer prices like in the States? They have gone up. Mm-hmm. You know, in places like, you know, London, some places have gone up just crazy amounts. Is it pretty common to have similar prices of $5 to $9 per pint, especially for those bigger, hoppier beers? It's generally cheaper to get beers in England, but they tend to be lower ABV.
Mm-hmm. Definitely less hoppy.
Yes. And are they at least 50% of beers represent hoppier styles? I'd say it's getting more and more hoppier styles as some of the newer brewers are starting to take up handles. But when you're talking about a hoppy beer in England,
no,
it's not as hoppy as beers in the US. I mean, we do insane hopping. They tend to do more moderate, even on the hoppy beers, although you will find a few that do American styles quite well and will do some insanity. He follows up with, do they call an English ale just an ale? Yes.
Bitter, best bitter.
They'll do a bitter. A bitter is, quite common. But, the only bitter I found that was really, truly bitter was that Holden's we had in the Midlands. That was bitter. Yeah. That was so deliciously bitter.
Nice.
It was intensely bitter, but so smooth and so delicious. There was a great hop bitterness to it, but not like you get over here where it's harsh or biting or
boing,
unpleasant, or where it kind of ruins your palate. That was just so drinkable.
Yeah,
that was my favorite bitter of all times, I think.
And that's the other thing, right? We went to the West Midlands to try milds because Holden is known for bitters. Don't just try the mild, try whatever they have, because we found this little gem that none of us knew about. And I totally second Jamil. It was one of my happiest beer experiences.
Yeah.
You think Challenger or what? Some local base malt?
There's another example. We went there, went to their brewery shop because we knew the pub hadn't opened yet. But it was a Saturday, and so the brewery tour was out of the question because it was Saturday. So we went into the shop, got a pint glass and some other stuff, and there was a guy inside that looked like he worked in the brewery. Did we send Rich?
Yeah, we sent Rich,
or did he just ask us if we wanted a tour?
I think he finally gave up because I kept him hawing, and he's like, "I'm going in there to ask him."
Right. Well, we were standing around and we were looking at the outside of the brewery, and we're like, it's a Saturday. The brewers aren't working, can't bother them at this point. And so our buddy Rich, who lives in Birmingham, he went with us. He's like, well, I'll go in and ask. Because the guy looked like a brewer. He went in and asked. The guy's like, sure, I'll give you a tour.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And he took us around and through there, and we tried to make it quick, but it was fantastic.
Nice.
And, it's like a, cast iron mash tun. And, it was equipment from like 150 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Really cool. And then open fermentation. And then, we went to the Beacon Hotel.
Double drop? No double drop?
No double drop. We went to the Beacon Hotel where they make the Sarah Hughes Ruby Mile. And so we were there. And I think I told this story how I had been there, and this person, Alex, she had, graciously said she would show me around on like a Sunday or a Saturday, give me a tour of the brewery. And so it was like at 9 a.m. or something like that. And this guy, Rich, brewer friend of mine in Birmingham, we had done a collab the night before, and they took me out after that, got me absolutely hammered. I couldn't believe. And so next morning, beer. I had this, commitment to be there, and so I showed up, but I was hurt, and so she toured me through, and I'm like, yeah, nice. A couple of pictures, and she's like, did you have any questions? I'm like, no questions. I'm good. And then she's like, did you want to taste the beers? I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah. And so I tasted the beer. So I'm like, oh, good. She's like, is that it? Or you? I'm like, and so I left. And so we're there at this place and we're just standing around, the three of us. We got some beer and it's delicious and we're drinking it. And she walks up to us and she's like, did you guys want a tour? You know, she could just pick us out from the crowd. You know, there's clearly guys who want a tour. And we're like, yeah, that'd be great. And I said, I got to apologize. I said, you gave me a tour before and I was so hungover. I could barely function. And I said, I don't think I said a word. She goes, I just thought you were really quiet. It's really nice.
Just trying not to throw up.
Lady's name is Alex. Yes. It's just so kind. Gave us a tour of an amazing brewery, Victorian Tower Breweries.
Oh, wow.
They're really cool.
Nice.
So it was a blast. But that's the thing. Be nice, be respectful, and you'll have a good time there. All right, one more quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up beer tourism right after this.
This podcast brought to you by Ring. With Ring cameras, you can check on your pets to catch them in the act.
Izzy, drop that.
Or just keep them company.
Aw, I'll be home soon.
Make sure they're okay while you're away with Ring. Learn more at ring.com/pets.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. Jacob says hi in the chat. And, if you're listening live, you can go to the comments just under that video on Facebook, and you can write a comment in there, and we will see it. And if you have questions, things like that, we'll be able to respond to them live. Especially we got a live Q&A show coming up next. If you're listening, you stay tuned. You can ask your brewing questions, and we will be able to get to those as we do, including ones that people have emailed into brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com. All right.
I envision the day when we have so many people watching on Facebook that we can't respond to the comments until next week's show.
There you go.
Well, then it's going to become, oh, yeah, we can't respond to these comments until next year. Then it'll be like 10 years. Yes. Oh, Andrew's listening live from Australia.
Right. Hey, Andrew.
Whoa.
Hey. I don't know what time it is in Australia, but,
They're so far ahead, it might be 2025 already.
Cheers to you, brother. Yes. All right. So here's one of my favorite tips and tricks. Because you go over to England or wherever you go, and you want to bring some of this delicious beer back with you, right? And he says it's 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. Oh, that's not bad. I guess he doesn't work for a living. I don't know.
Afternoon strong.
Yeah, afternoon strong. Brent's asking, what is the state of homebrewing like in England compared to the States? Pretty strong. There's a good homebrew community, and they're getting more and more advanced as things go on. I went and did a speech at a conference there just after Neil and I were there, and kind of their homebrew con. And they got a good turnout and good bunch of people.
Can we give a shout out to London Amateur Brewers
Lab? Our buddies who got us really drunk at
at Sean's Brewery.
A lot of our stories go with, and then we got really drunk, and then the cab driver didn't want to allow Travis into the cab, and I had to
like 5 feet behind the door.
Had to promise that he wasn't going to throw up in the cab, and it didn't help that you were just like, I'm not going to throw up. I promise. I'm not going to throw up. I'm like, oh.
I didn't. Come on.
You did not.
No.
Right.
Yeah, the cabs are funny there, where the seats are like 3 feet behind the door. So I get in, I go to jump on the seat, and there's not a seat there. I hit the floor.
Yes. Yes. It's all like plastic or rubber lined on the floor because they have people throw up.
Yeah. Other people, not me. Other people.
Lucky he didn't refuse us, because I would have just left your ass on the street and gotten in the cab and got. So apparently I was fine. Yeah.
Well, it's that whole relative thing. There's a drunk one. I can't tell if he's drunk because that one's so drunk.
All right.
The only attention goes to the drunkest person.
All right. My shipping beer trick. All right. So all this great beer, you want to bring it back. One of the worst things you can do is lug it all around the country with you. If you have like a onesie or a twosie, it's no big deal. You wrap it up tight, put it in your luggage. And here's the trick on putting things in your luggage or in any package, that glass bottles or even cans. You pack it so tight that it cannot move, cannot shift. If it cannot shift, it will not break. They break when they slide around or sling around and tap each other or tap something metal, and then that's how they break. So just pack it so tight that it can't possibly shift.
So more beer.
If you're going to bring, all right, so you need more. If you are going to bring back a bunch, or if there's a brewery you really love, you can, a lot of times in the brewery shop there, like we were at Theakston's, and I brought a bunch of stuff up to the counter, and then I asked them to ship it to my hotel. Or you can go online to a lot of these breweries. Even if you don't visit the brewery, you can go online and you can have them ship. And it costs like $5, $8 to ship a case of beer from a brewery in England to the airport, right? So make your last night in England an airport hotel where you don't want to be schlepping all this stuff around. You just have it all shipped to the airport hotel. And then you spend that evening packing everything up into, your suitcase or into multiple suitcases. What I always do is I make sure I can take 2 bags with me on the flight. And one will, my suitcase will hold a certain number of stuff. And then I'll have a brewery ship me like those mini kegs or, a case of bottles. And when they ship them, they usually pack them really well. I'll be fine with that, but I'll also bring with me a roll of packing tape, the fiber reinforced packing tape. I get it from Walmart for like $1.89 for a whole roll, and I'll use that to reinforce the box, or I'll take some other cardboard, put it on the outside, and tape it up with that. If you're going to put something in your luggage, put each of them into plastic baggies. So if they do break, it doesn't ruin anything else. But you make yourself a big box and then you check it as luggage. It needs to be under the weight and the dimensions, but I've never had a problem in England checking beer as luggage. You might other places, but in England, they ask you what's in the box. You say, "Oh, delicious British beer." They're like, yeah, no problem. And then they escort you to this place where you drop off your weird looking box. No problem. I've never lost a single drop of beer doing this. Never broken a pint glass. Easy peasy. That's my trick. Have it all shipped to your hotel. They will collect it for you. Don't have it shipped like 2 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
But you can have it shipped there a week before you're getting there, and just have it say hold for guest and, in your name, and the hotels will hold it for you. They don't,
very cool.
It's kind of used to that. So
I just bring it all back in my bladder.
Yes. In your liver.
In your liver.
In your heart. Yes. But that is one of my favorite tricks. Any other last tips, tricks, thoughts?
Back on the pubs, you'll find it odd, but for the most part, if no one's standing at the pub having a pint, it's for a reason. A lot of the pubs don't allow it. You get your pint, you go back to your table. It's weird. I get it. I want to hang out at the pub too, chat with the bartender. No, that's just not the way they do it.
Yeah, some of them, they don't do it that way. Yeah. Usually you can tell you'll see a lot of them. There's no stools next to the bar.
Yeah.
You don't sit at the bar. Right. If you are at the bar, you either stand at the bar or, like Travis saying, you get your pint and you leave the bar.
No big deal.
Good point.
I have one last question.
Yes.
If you can only have one beer in England, where do I go? What do I order?
I know what the beer is.
Blooming Feathers for me, and I'm having Harvey's Brown.
Harvey's Sussex beer.
The Lewis Castle.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Lewis Castle, yes, the Brown. Yeah.
That was right. Me, it would probably be like a Harvey's best bitter, the Sussex. For Neil, it'd probably be a pint of Timothy Taylor, Landlord.
Yeah, either one of those, and I can just die and go to heaven.
Yeah, I mean, a great Harvey's. I will say that Landlord at the Bluebell in York is tremendous.
Tremendous.
Yeah, we had God's gift to the Timothy Taylors there at the Bluebell. It's a fantastic. York is a great city.
Yes.
If you're going to England and you have a chance, go to York.
Yeah.
Just don't end up regretting it later when everybody tells you how awesome York is. When you're there, go to the Bluebell, mind the rules, go in and have spectacular pint after spectacular pint. There's a lot of other great pubs around, but you'll get some varying quality, as pubs tend to be, but not the Bluebell. What else? There's just a lot of great pints, but I'd tend to get a bitter somewhere or a mild. The Ruby Mild at the Beacon Hotel, the Sarah Hughes Ruby Mild.
Or
that Holden's bitter, or Brains, a Brains Dark in Cardiff.
Brains great.
Yeah, or the Harvey's Old Ale in Brighton or in Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Another spectacular, or a pint of Old Peculiar from the Wood.
Yes,
in the Bull Ring.
Are you regretting your question yet, Mike?
I'm just like, you know what? I'm glad this is all being recorded because if I ever need to go back.
Yeah.
So many great pints in England.
Yeah.
And Wales, yeah.
But
Wales, yes.
Just quickly on that last point, if there is a beer that you are trying to find when you go over there to visit, the Good Beer Guide from Camera, you can either get this one. Their local Camera branches go to pubs and they tell you, is this a good pub? They won't even make the list if it's a crappy pub.
And they have a beer.
They'll usually tell you what the normal. These are their two, normal, and then they have some guest ales. And if you don't want to deal with the book or anything, about a year or two ago, Camera put up a website. It's called whatpub.com, and it has all the same stuff right on the website that's in the Good Beer Guide. So if you're uncertain about a pub and maybe what they got on tap or who owns it, or Nicholson's or Wetherspoons, you can find it on there for free. And that can help guide you. And you do it by either postcode or what town you're in. Mm-hmm. It's real simple to use.
Yep. There's a couple of apps as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's apps as well.
Was it Perfect Pint, Jamil? Is that the one you used to use?
Cast Beer Finder. I mean, you just try them all until you find what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
Untapped and, they all...
Every beer is a 3.8 Untapped.
Yes. They'll tell you if you're looking for something in particular. Be pretty good. I think Michael has frozen. I guess his computer did die.
But his battery died, yeah.
Battery's still...
there it goes.
There he goes. All right. Well, we'll end this show. Great tips and tricks about brewery touring in England. I think we're going to do some more of these. I'm thinking Dusseldorf. I've spent a lot of time in Dusseldorf. I want to, relay some of that information. Maybe some of these other places that we've been.
We can anger Western Germany by combining Dusseldorf and Cologne.
Yes.
Because they don't want to be combined. Yeah.
That would make them very angry, yes.
It's hard not to combine them, though.
They're right there. Just drive down the river.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. It's the end of the show. if you're listening live, stay tuned. We're going to do the live Q&A. We already got a couple of questions coming in through the comments there. Andrew's asking about a little bit of infection or weird batches that he's got going on. So we'll answer those, and we got some from email as well. But keep on listening. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure to send a nice email to our good friend John Blickman and tell him thank you for sponsoring. Feedback at blickmanengineering.com. Until then, everybody, brew strong.
Brew strong.
Brew strong.